Hey, my friend, it's Melanie Ferguson, your host of Creatives on Fire, the podcast where I hope to inspire you to create a profitable six-figure following online. So turn it up and listen in to amazing stories of success, along with behind-the-scenes secrets and valuable tips from, you guessed it, Creatives on Fire. Hey, my sweet friend, Melanie here. I have a couple of questions for you. I want to ask you if you are struggling at all with overwhelm, feeling like you need to be in a million places, not having enough time. Maybe you struggle with feeling like you're not good enough. Or who am I? Who am I to be sharing this with my audience? That imposter syndrome that a lot of us struggle with. What about just knowing what the next step is you should take in your business? Does any of this resonate with you? If so, I'd love to invite you to Creatives on Fire Insiders. This is an amazing group of creatives who are finding success and growing their businesses together. It's designed to stop the overwhelm, to build your confidence, and to guide you through the next steps you should take in your business. A lot of our focus inside is on video and live video specifically, how to get good at it, how to really capitalize on the time that we spend in our businesses. If this sounds like anything that interests you, come spend some time with us, because let's face it, who you spend your time with matters. Check us out at creativesonfireinsiders.com. We'll see you there. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Gwen Hefner. She is also known as the Makerista. Gwen, I am so excited to have you on here. My friend Amy has talked so highly of you, and I've watched your account for a while, and it is just blowing my mind. Let me see. Have I missed anything, Gwen? Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Melanie. It's a treat to be here, and so sweet of Amy to recommend me to you.
She just gave you a good old shout out. So let's just dive right in. You have this amazing following that you've amassed across all the social media platforms, and with a focus, of course, on your Instagram. And you have not only gotten a six-figure following, but you have gone and turned around and monetized that. Tell us a little bit about what it was like in the very beginning. You said you started this several years ago, like 9 years ago?
Yeah, I started in 2013. I started the Makerista. When I became a stay-at-home mom in 2009, I started reading blogs, and I really connected with the women, or I felt like I connected with the women. I previously, I majored in music, and my plan was to do opera, which would have probably not had me living in the Midwest. And then I moved to New York to do fashion after the music thing didn't pan out. And when I met my husband, he brought me back to my hometown outside of Kansas City. And I found myself in this small suburban town, feeling disconnected from the things that I loved creatively. And so I started reading blogs, and then I kind of got to this point where I realized I was doing a lot of the things that the women I was following was doing. And I was looking for something to kind of be my own and potentially make a little bit of extra income. At the time, I had student loans, and I was like cleaning some spaces on the side. And so, yeah, I launched the Makerista as a creative outlet, but knowing that there was a potential for it to become more than just a hobby. So
I love that story. So you had something tugging at your heart that was just you were never able to shake it with your creative side. And you were following all of these other accounts, and you saw yourself in them, and you were like, I could totally do that. That could be me. Why not me? And so you took that and ran with it. Was it always the Makerista? Like, has it evolved into something more than what you thought it was going to be? Tell me about that journey.
Absolutely. So when I started the Makerista, at the time, I was mostly doing like crafty things or sewing clothing or party invitations for my kids. And So I really started the Makerista more as a craft blog, but my first post was my daughter's first birthday, and I had sewn her dress and I hung it on her crib, and there was a picture of that, and several people said, "We want to see her room." And so I showed the nursery, and then after that, people were like, "We want to see more of your house." And so the Makerista has evolved into more home and interior design, when at the time it was just like it wasn't even a thought that I had any sort of, not even authority, but just that people would be interested in that, because I've been a creative my whole life, but for me, it was always in fashion and in clothing. And when I met my husband and we got married and I moved into his house, I had no idea how to decorate a home. And I found it really overwhelming. I loved putting together an outfit, and that felt really easy, but putting together a home that was something so permanent and a lot more details and components was very overwhelming to me. And so we were only married a year before I had my son. So this was a pretty short span of time. But but throughout that time, up until 2013, I was kind of honing my home and my personal style, and how to bring my personal style into my home.
Yes, I was going to say it totally evolved from the crafts to the home decor pretty quickly. You said over the first like few months, a year.
Yes. I was really open to just what people wanted to see. I always wanted to stay true to myself, and I wasn't, and what I wanted to share, but I also was open to what people wanted to see. Yeah. And within like a year and a half, it pretty quickly took off, and Better Homes and Gardens took note and asked me to come to their style maker and event. And so it was pretty exciting. To be fair, I did have a background. I worked before I stayed home in marketing and PR and event planning for a publication company. And so I did have a little bit of foreknowledge on how to put myself out there and get noticed, I guess.
So was there something you think that you could share with the listeners that you did specifically that got you noticed by the big companies?
I mean, I think I was talking to a friend the other day about, it's just such a different ball game now. In 2013, I really loved photography. And at that time, you didn't need good pictures to get noticed. And so I think I really stood out because I had really nice images. And I also think too, I've always loved color. Kind of my traditional style at that time wasn't popular. It was the era of like everybody had come off Mad Men and everybody wanted mid-century. And so I think that there were certain things that I did that stood out. And I really, from the beginning, I knew I wanted beautiful photography, and I just wanted to have quality. And it was a time in my life where I really pushed myself to be consistent in my sharing. I can't say that I'm that in this season of my life, but at that time I was blogging twice a week, staying up till 3 a.m, getting up at 7 a.m. with my kids. But that's how I had to do it when they were little. And that's what it took to grow it at that time, for sure.
So it's gone through seasons, it sounds like, where you had to put a lot more into it than other times. When did you notice your account starting to take off? And did you double down at that point, or did you let off the gas? I mean, what was that experience, that journey?
I mean, I think that is such a relative term, in the sense that, when I had 3,000 followers, I remember people saying, "You have so many followers," And I think just the more you grow, the more there's always going to be people with more followers. There's always going to be people with less. And so for me, it's about like really, I think I've grown very organically. There hasn't been this like, I can't look back on a year and think, oh, I doubled my following, or maybe there was a year where that happened. But for me, it's always been about like, there's billions of people on this planet. And so I really want to stay true to myself, and hopefully people that enjoy what I do will follow me, and I'll have a loyal follower out of them because I just stick to who I am and I stick to what I do. And I think that has been kind of more my focus. And Yeah, I mean, there's been things along the way that have felt exciting. I think for me, like, this is kind of silly, but the town we live in is 50,000 people. So for me, once I hit 50,000, I thought, man, that's like this whole town, you know? Um, but like I said, as somebody with 100,000 followers, I have friends who have a million or 2 million followers. And so you know, in comparison to them, I feel small. So
I
I,
agree.
I think that it's easy to get caught up in the numbers like that. And I think that it can be kind of dangerous because it really should be about, are you staying true to yourself and doing what you enjoy? And are you helping other people? For me, it's all about like inspiring other people to find their personal style. My goal is never at the end of the day to have somebody that copies my dining room. It's the hope that like by sharing what I do, that they're inspired to like dig into what is it that they love and how to put that into their own home.
Yes, yes, yes. So true, so true. So, when you were dialing into this passion that you found with sharing your space with others and inspiring them to do the same, when did you decide that it could become maybe an income? And what does that look like now?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, like I said, from the get go, I knew that this was something you can monetize if you do it well. And so from the very beginning, definitely within the first 6 to 9 months, I was getting sponsorships. They were a lot smaller scale than they are now. But yeah, I think initially I've always thought that I wanted to monetize this somehow. And honestly, for me, monetization has looked different the last few years as I've started Thrift Club, which is a private Instagram account and Facebook page where I take people with me thrifting and they are given my Thrift Club handbook, which is almost 40 pages of all my tips and tricks. And they have a community of about 3,500 people all over the world in the Facebook group where they can, share finds and share losses and ask questions. And so for me, it was really, when I started doing sponsorships, it looked a lot different than it does now. There were not these huge contracts. It's a lot of work to do sponsorships now. And so for me, we're getting ready to build a home this next year. And so I have been leaning into that area a bit more. And I really hope next year that I'll be doing a lot more sponsorships. But honestly, for me, the last 3 years has been about monetizing my following and kind of taking that third party out of the equation. And it's been really freeing to be able to just share what I want, when I want, how I want, and have these followers support me in that. Not only, with their following, but financially as well. And it's been really wonderful for our family. It's been a huge blessing. So
I agree. I have the same situation going. So, I have to ask you, why thrifting?
I love thrifting, and I've been thrifting since I was in high school. For a very long time, it was weird. Like for me, in high school and in college, like on the weekends, I would go to thrift stores. And at the time, I just thrifted clothing and jewelry. It wasn't, again, until I got married and moved in with my husband that I started trying to figure out home decor and design. And especially once we got married and we went to one, and we had our son, and I became a stay-at-home mom, going to that one income. I was enjoying figuring out my style in our home, but I didn't have the budget to just like do whatever I wanted. And so that's when I started really thrifting home things, furniture and decor. And it's just thrilling. For one, it's so much cheaper. Today I bought 3 bentwood chairs for $12 for all 3. And you're getting amazing quality that you can't really buy new anymore. Like, I mean, to buy the quality of an older piece now is just astronomical cost wise. And so, yeah, I mean, I also think too, you've got the cost, you've got the quality, but you also have the style. When you thrift something, the odds of someone else having it are pretty small. Whereas if you go to Target and buy that, pretty candle holder, there's a good chance somebody else in your friend circle or neighborhood has it. And so I love that aspect of it too, that it just really helps you create a unique home that is just true to who you are, that nobody else has.
I love that because I also love to thrift, and that's one of my things. And I asked you because I wanted the answer, and it sounded like I know this is audio only, but your face lit up when I said thrifted, and you got so excited. And I want everybody that's listening here to kind of dial into the fact that she talked about something that she loves to do, and that is what she monetized, and that is what's going to carry her through the hard times when the people cancel or things don't go exactly how she wants, is that she's doing something that she's so passionate about that she could probably, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, do it even for free.
Well, I used to share it on the Makerista on Instagram. And, if I didn't thrift every week, I mean, people would message me, when are you thrifting next? And when I would thrift, I would get 400 to 500 messages. And I'm that girl who has to message everyone back. So it took up a lot of my time. And that's where I really thought to myself, I need to find a way to monetize this and to make it make sense for my time and my family. And so that's how Thrift with the Makerista, the private page and Facebook community, came about. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, we all have something, and like, we all have a passion and we all have a gift. Like, the Lord has given all of us something. And so just find what that is for you and then figure out how to share it with other people. And I think, like you said, I love what I do, and that's huge. And I know, that's a blessing to be able to say that for sure. But I think it is really the best way to go about it. If you are loving what you're doing and you're passionate about it, people are going to see that and they're going to want to be a part of that too.
Yep. They always, always do. So how does the Makerista stay focused?
Oh. That's a really good and hard question for me. I am not the typical, I always say, and our youngest is 5. So I still, when people ask what I do, like, I still say I'm a stay-at-home mom first. And I really have tried to put that first throughout all of the Makery stuff to this point. I think for me, a lot of it is just being sensitive to where the needs are at. And sometimes that means that I have a season where the Makerista isn't the number one priority for me. And sometimes I have a season where it's more of a priority. And sometimes my family isn't, like, just different seasons. And I think that's important. A really wise friend of mine, Jenny Commenda from Little Green Notebook, she always says that, like, your audience will always be there. Like, I think we often think that, like, oh my gosh, I haven't said anything today, or I haven't said anything in a few days, and people are going to be wondering where I am. No, they're not. Like, in general, I mean, you'll always have a few sweet people probably who reach out, but in general, people, they're not like waiting for you to talk. And at the same token, if you're gone for a long time and you come back, they're just like, oh, hi, like, they're excited to see you. But they don't feel, I don't know, they don't feel like they've missed out on anything. So I think that's like a really good perspective and something to keep in mind, is that, we want to think that, like, what I want to think that what I'm doing is really important. And that's not to say that it doesn't have value, but,
We have a whole podcast episode on this exact topic about stepping away and having, a different focus for a little bit and coming back, and how it's just like almost not skipping a beat, because your followers are going to always have their phone. They're going to always have the platform. They're going to always be on it. And whether they see you or not, a few will message you, but they will all say that they will definitely be there for you if you need a break or you need to do something different. So I agree.
Yeah. Well, and I think I can be a testament to that with starting Thrift Club, because, like I said, for the past few years, I haven't been as active on my main channel. I haven't grown it as much. And I really haven't done a ton of sponsorships because I was so focused on Thrift Club. And, with our new build this year, I have been putting a lot more of my energy into the Makerista, because I want I know I will be sharing the house build there, and I know it will be exciting for people. And as I said, we hope to, get sponsorships for it. And that's a huge part of being able to make the vision I have come to life, is bringing on other people to be a part of it. And so, yeah, I can definitely be a testament that it's not hard to do. It's not hard. It's hard to step away, but coming back is easy, and you feel refreshed, and people are excited to have you back too.
So on that note, when you talk about the two separate things as they're two separate things, do you feel that it's two separate audiences? Do you have the thrifters and then the makerista people? And if so, how do you balance that? And how did you set up the thrift club to be such a value that people in that genre are willing to pay for it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily see them as different. I guess I see it as like everyone on the Makerista should be in Thrift Club.
I love it. I love it.
And I do. I push it a lot on the Makerista, but I also feel like, I don't have a lot of sponsored content on the Makerista. So that is my sponsored content. Me pushing my own other thing is sponsored content. That's how I look at it. It's $35 a year. You're getting an almost 40-page handbook, which gives all of my tips and tricks. You are getting access to a community of 3,500 people all over the world. We have people who've never gone into a thrift store, but just enjoy watching it, to professional high-end auctioneers and resellers. We have a list of, like, everyone has compiled in Thrift Club a list of all their favorite stores all over the world. So everyone in the club has access to that. And then the Instagram page, where I'm taking you shopping with me and I'm showing you what I'm finding. I'm talking you through things along the way, like why I would buy this or why I would not buy this. There's a lot of value in it. And I honestly think it's quite a steal. I'm constantly adding new things to the Thrift Club. And yeah, I've only raised the price once. It started off at $20 a year, and I did lock in those initial members to keep that $20 like your grandfathered in. So I just value those people so much. I mean, it's one thing to follow somebody, but it's another thing to pay to follow them. And yeah, they just have a special place in my heart, and I'm always giving them. Actually, I'm going to France in May. Hopefully, with COVID, who knows? But I'm going on a shopping trip to Provence in May, and I opened that up to Thrift Club first. We're just taking 14 people to secondhand flea market shop in Provence, and within 24 hours, we had all 14 spots filled just in Thrift Club. I had initially thought, well, I'll open up to the Makerista after, and so yeah, I think that it's about creating a community and giving people community, and especially in something like thrifting, where a lot of, like we said, it's not always been a popular thing, and a lot of people think it's weird or gross, or giving people a place to share their victories and things like that with other people. I know for me personally, I would find things before 10 years ago, and I really didn't have anybody to share it with because people didn't understand why that was exciting. So.
I know what you're saying. So I think that is such wisdom to share with the listeners, is just that it is about making a community, and it is about making people feel safe and comfortable and excited to share things with people that have like-minded values and thoughts on the same topic. So bravo, you've done amazing. I would like to ask one last question, Gwen, if you can. What advice would you give yourself back when you were just getting started and you had no idea where this was going to take you? What would you say?
I would probably tell myself, keep going. You're doing a good job, but get more sleep.
I love it. Definitely, right? I heard you say 3 a.m. Part of that was young ones, but part of that is the working.
Yeah, it was. That's when I worked. I worked from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. A few times a week at least. And it really affected my health. And yeah, I wish I would have set a little bit better boundaries with that. I also know that, maybe I wouldn't be where I am without that. So, but I do think I should have slept a little bit more.
Well, with that, good night. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
All right. Well, awesome. This was so wonderful just to get even just a little bit of insight behind the Makerista and the business that you've built, Gwen. It's just so inspiring. And I appreciate you so much for taking time and being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Melanie. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, my friend, for listening to the podcast. I'm blessed every single time you come back and listen to an episode. It's especially amazing when you share it with others on social media. So be sure to follow Creatives on Fire online. Listen, if you have not already done so, I want you to go ahead and download the 5 ideas I personally used to explode my online audience growth to a 6-figure following. You can find that at creativesonfirepodcast.com. I appreciate you, and until next time, stay inspired.